If you pay attention to social media in television programs, it's stuff like my wife was interested in a social media message the other day on Dancing with the Stars, where it asked why one of the guys, the professional dancers, doesn't ever have any hair on his chest. That was the social media message. So it gets very frivolous, though that's entertainment, not news. But even on news, it's very frivolous most of the time. And it's sort of done as a tease or a visual effect, and not really about the social media messages, not about content. But the question we asked here at RJI was, if we put social media on steroids, could we make, write this down, could we make the public forum of journalism bigger and more diverse? Kovich and Rosenstiel, for all of those people who have gone through that course where the elements of journalism was taught, told us there are 9 elements of journalism. And one of those is our responsibility to make the public forum, to make a public forum and to maintain it. So we said, we here at RJI said, can we make the public forum bigger and more diverse, more people involved, if we really put social media messages on steroids? There's already been a lot of work related to that here. Joy Mayer over in the print and digital faculty did some almost groundbreaking work on how to get community involvement through social media. There have been a number of good efforts, and this is a television effort. So we partnered with KETC, which is the public television station in St. Louis. We picked a public television station because A, they came to us and said they wanted to do something with the Great Missouri School of Journalism. And B, because we thought a commercial television station, at least at this point, wouldn't hear our message. So, and we didn't want to do KOMU, which would hear our message, but KOMU's got enough going on and there's too much relationship already. We wanted to go outside. So KETC, Channel 9, how many from St. Louis? Let me see hands. Okay, it's one of the richest public television stations in the country, where it is in Market 20, New York 1, Los Angeles 2. It's in Market 20, St. Louis. It raises money and spends money at about Market 10 or 11. It's a very rich place. So we have created with them an hour-long program every Thursday night from 9 until 10 o'clock on some community affairs subject. And the idea is, before we do the program, during the program, and after the program, we're going to be aggressive at sending out social media messages and see if we get good messages back. We're not going to say, tweet us if you have an idea. We're going to ask them, do you believe kids should be shot with guns? No, we're not quite that aggressive, but we're going to be aggressive with the messages. We're going to ask very proactive messages and ask people to contribute. And we're having some success, which we'll talk about in a minute. To do this noble project, we have a cast of thousands. These are 7 of the 8 people who have been involved. The 4 on the right are the reporters, and the 3 on the left are the producers. So we're going to start with Jen Long, who is going to introduce her own piece. Jen, what do you do to make Stay Tuned at KETC work?
Well, we start off every show with a setup piece, and so this actually is not a setup piece, but what we do is Matt, Joe, and Carrie and I go to St. Louis every week, and we put together a piece that will set up the issue. So, every week it's something different, and we will talk to people about the issue, talk to experts, talk to people who are effective, and put together maybe a 3 or 4 minute package just about what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the show to kind of introduce the subject. So this piece that we're going to watch is not one of my best, but it was part of a documentary about Stay Tuned for their pledge. Obviously, the public affairs stations do pledge every few months, and so this was part of pledge, and basically it kind of shows RJI's involvement in the project and why we even wanted to do that. So
Let's
enjoy.
Do it.
My name is Jennifer Long, and I'm a journalism student here in Columbia at the University of Missouri. I also work on Stay Tuned, a collaborative effort between the 9 Network and the Reynolds Journalism Institute. RJI offers so much to our campus and the journalism community. Let's go ahead and take a look back and see just how this collaboration got started.
Years of tradition at the world's oldest journalism school leads to innovation. The Reynolds Journalism Institute opens in 2004.
Its purpose is to help journalists and citizens create better journalism.
RJI started with a multi-million-dollar grant from the Donald Reynolds Foundation with a mission of changing and improving journalism.
One of the things that's important is taking advantage of the new technologies that are spreading. And we can help by bringing some special projects and things that will build awareness and help them understand how some of these new technologies like Twitter and other digital tools work.
Although the Institute resides on a university, the impact of the journalism think tank reaches far beyond the college campus, but the university setting does provide an environment for research and discovery.
We have a strong research component, so one of the things about experimenting with things is you need to find out, well, did it actually do anything? Did it work? And we have that capability to not only create something new, but then say, you know, how much did it move the needle? Was it effective?
Headquarters for the Institute opened in 2008, which provided the campus and the journalism world with this state-of-the-art facility. There are many facets of RJI, including a research center, a futures lab, and technology testing center where professionals and students can experiment with new technologies. And it serves as a conference destination for media organizations.
Our goal is to find new ways to do journalism better. Take advantage of the explosion of digital technologies now and how people can acquire information.
Another way the Institute invests in the future of journalism is through its fellowship program. RJI Fellows carry out major projects aimed at enhancing the practice or understanding of journalism. RJI named University of Missouri faculty member Kent Collins a fellow for the 2012-2013 academic year, and sponsored his project to collaborate with the 9 Network on a new public affairs broadcast.
So stay tuned.
This effort by the 9 Network in St. Louis is a real attempt to provide this public affairs programming with journalistic muscle from the Missouri School of Journalism and the Reynolds Journalism Institute to try and get a deeper, more meaningful discussion of what's important in the St. Louis region.
One of the things that's changed is citizens' insistence on being not just passive recipients of journalism, but participating in the process. So this experiment is aimed at finding how can they do that in a way that, yes, increases citizen participation, but that also produces quality journalism.
Institute members also say a public television network is the perfect partnership because of the nature of public broadcasting.
Well, this is a wonderful opportunity because, as you know, public broadcasting in the United States has a long tradition of engaging with their audience, with the people they serve. And so that's our work there is, can we use that long tradition of engaging with the audience who are watching television to invite other people who might not be Channel 9 viewers into the discussion.
So let's go back to another hangout.
And ways to do that? Twitter, Facebook, video chats, and live interviews. Something new for the network, something new for the Institute.
The new media that is developing is giving us an opportunity to ask more people more questions and to put their answers either on television, on radio, or on the website. So social media, Twitter, Facebook, and the others, simple email, can make the public forum that declined because of the mass media. We can now make it bigger. We can make the public forum bigger, and we can make it deeper.
We don't have our station now still, do we?
And something new for the next generation of journalists. University of Missouri journalism students also work on the project, working as reporters and experts of social media.
The team of student reporters goes out and finds people who are living this life, who are experiencing it firsthand. And then they make a story to sort of introduce the more in-depth discussion that we have later in the program.
The project is a new and exciting one, a true example of what RJI is meant to do.
I think our experiment with the 9 networks in St. Louis is really a good illustration of the kind of projects that we do at RJI. That is, of taking these ideas about communications, testing them in the real marketplace of ideas, and seeing what works best.
And change what we know, not just here.
Maybe now, because of social media, we have an opportunity to reinvigorate the public forum in any city in America. Wow, I like that a lot because I've been in it. Roger Gafke is in it. Professor Gafke here had several clips in the broadcast. Roger is largely responsible for the fundraising that went on here to build the Reynolds Journalism Institute. He's a longtime journalism faculty member. Thank you. Explain some of the stories you've done.
How do I use this?
Joe Chiodo, who is not a grad student, senior about to graduate.
Hi. So some of the stories we do, all of them are community-based issues, which we learned really do affect a lot of the St. Louis region. My first story was on home foreclosures, and we found a lot of good characters in that story, a lot of people who were actually affected. We did one on the election, and we tried to humanize that one to find people who have their own problems within the election and what they've found that frustrates them with the election in the new kind of modern society. And then
That was about the mayoral election. Yes?
Yeah, no, that was the regular presidential election. And then the last piece I did was about health disparities in St. Louis. And we kind of learned that the issues we're talking about really do affect a lot of the region. Whenever the show airs, everybody takes to Twitter because it's social media, and a lot of the times the hashtag for the show actually ends up trending. So it's a pretty big deal, and we found that a lot of people are affected by the stories we do.
It's a real narrative storytelling opportunity if we set it up right and if the people in St. Louis use it properly to put more of a human face and less of an official face. If we're trying to make this public forum bigger and more diverse, we should not start the show or emphasize in the broadcast just a bunch of men in suits, frankly. We need to get people who are not normally on television, who do not normally have a voice in the media, who we don't have in our electronic Rolodex as journalists. And so that's a large part of what goes on here. Carrie had a particularly difficult one some weeks back. You want to explain that one down in Jeff City and why it was so difficult?
We did a story
I'm
probably.
sorry. Carrie Leary,
Oh.
a 4+1 student. Bingo, go ahead.
We did a story a few weeks ago in Jefferson City and kind of what was going on with the healthcare. Was it healthcare? Immigration. There you go. It was immigration and how what was going on nationally and how it was impacting mid-Missouri and St. Louis. So we talked to a lot of different lawmakers down in Jefferson City and asked them how the national and federal laws that were kind of going to be put in place in regards to immigration were going to impact St. Louis, and more importantly, just what was going on in Jefferson City with it. So that kind of makes sense. But we kind of just ran into some difficulties because pretty much everyone we talked to down in Jefferson City was saying, well, we have to wait till the federal laws are put in place till we decide what's going to go on. If that
In
makes
recent
sense.
years, at the Missouri legislature, various aspects of the immigration, illegal immigrant, issue had come up. Driver's license, voting rights, and stuff like that, been contentious. Then it became a much larger national issue, federal level. And so, as Carrie just said, when we went down there to see what is the state doing about this, they said, ho-hum, we're going to wait. So the story was more difficult than we expected. But it was a pretty good show broadcast overall. Matt Noonan, did you do impact of the art, economic impact of the art?
No, that was Jen.
All right, which one was it?
I did the economic impact of reducing the dropout rate in St.
Good
Louis.
one, explain it.
So what we did was we went to a specialized school in St. Louis. It was called Fresh Start, and what it was is it's a school for students who have previously dropped out, and have decided they want to come back and, you know, further their education, maybe look into trade school, technical school down the line. But so we went there, interviewed, you know, faculty members, interviewed a few students to kind of communicate their experience, kind of what Kent was talking about, not just talk to the experts, but the people living the stories and the issues that we're talking about. And it really was kind of a good humanized way to kind of explore the issue instead of just, you know, see the numbers, see the economic impact, but see how it personally, you know, affects these people.
This was one of our earlier pieces, one of our earlier programs, and we ran painfully and valuably into a lesson. If we're talking about dropouts, to a large extent, we're talking about lower income neighborhoods where the dropout rate is higher at the high school. From a remedial program where they take where dropouts go to try and get their GED or whatever, we connected with a young woman in North St. Louis, a student, 19, 18 years old, who was in this program trying to get her high school diploma finished. And we talked to her about doing a Google Plus Hangout with a laptop and and talking to our anchor live during the broadcast. Well, in our minds, we said, yeah, just, hey lady, get your laptop, turn it on, turn off your stereo, put a little light on the subject, and talk to us. She didn't understand and we didn't understand. But as we were getting closer to airtime, it became apparent that she didn't have high-speed internet in her home. She didn't have a laptop. And at the last minute, she says, no problem, I'll take the bus and come down to the studio. I mean, that said a lot about our effort to get a more diverse public forum. Because some people can't communicate with us, at least not as efficiently, with social media because they don't have the tools. I don't know what we're going to do about that, but it's a very important thing for the media to consider when we're trying to get more people into a community conversation. Andrada Zavala from Romania is regularly doing research to get ready for us to do a program. You want to talk about, well, we've got an example here. Go through this, but let me say as a setup, next week we're doing a program on entrepreneurship in St. Louis. Is it vital or is it stagnant in St. Louis? Civic planners, civic development people say if you don't have a spirit of entrepreneurship, it's hard to make a community grow in several areas. So we're going to examine that a little bit next week. That's the subject that's most recent on your agenda, but explain how you went through the process, please. Andrada is a first-year graduate student from Romania.
So the research process is pretty straightforward. There are 8 frames that we use as guidelines when we conduct our research. First of all, we're going to look at the key facts and statistics, basically things that we need to know about the topic, and what are the most important aspects regarding what we're going to do our research on. Then we're going to look at the trends and changes, pretty much recent tendencies and how did they progressively evolve. Subsequently, we're going to make a comparison between the St. Louis region and the national scene or other similar regions, just to be able to make a contrast between those. Next frames, it's about the events and community discussions that are already in progress.
Time out. I mentioned Joy Mayer over in Print and Digital, who has done so much research and work on community engagement. And that's a part of that. We need to know what discussions are already going on in the community. Why should we start from scratch? So that's part of the research process.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
just so that we know what is already being discussed or done regarding the topic. The next frame is the background and history. We want to see how did we get here and what developments have led to the current status. Then we will have to look at personal stories, people that have been directly involved with the topic, will share their personal experience. And also in the same area, we're going to look at experts. And first, what gives them the status of experts, and then they will also share their experience and their involvement, direct involvement with the topic. And last but not least, we're going to list our sources, making the list of the links that we used for conducting the research.
So from Columbia, Missouri, we can do a lot of the research. We can do most of the research for a program in St. Louis or in San Francisco or in Peoria. Now, we can't do it all, and frankly, the television station, KETC, has a very rich list of sources and associates and organizations that it is already collaborating with on any of these subjects, on arts, on the dropout rate, on any of these things. KETC already has partners on these subjects. So we utilize them, but we try and find some others. Now the research thing is also an effort to get to more sources than we've had in the past. Let me give you an example. If we're going to do dropouts, if you're going to do a story for the Missourian or KOMU tomorrow on the dropout rate in mid-Missouri or in Columbia School District or whatever, you're going to go to the regular sources, school superintendents and remedial programs and teachers and stuff like that. Our effort, which we have not been entirely successful at doing, but our effort is to say, okay, let's send a social media message to PTAs. How do we get to PTAs? Through the school system probably, or through the individual schools. And how do the PTAs then get to PTA members? And how do we encourage the PTA at a suburban St. Louis high school to send out our social media message to its members? And if we're successful at that, and we're beginning to scratch the surface in this project for RJI, if we're successful at that, then we have automatically made the audience bigger and made the audience more diverse, which is the public forum bigger and more diverse. The biggest challenge I think we've had is to try to make social media on Google Plus Hangout work. Jamie Reese has struggled with it. You saw her in the video, and we've come to some interesting realizations. Jamie is a second semester grad student from San Diego. You want to explain some of the things we've done with Google Plus Hangout?
Yeah, so me and one other graduate student that's not here, Kelly Stanfield, we put together a manual, and so I'm just going to go step by step into our manual, but I'll try to make it quick and brief. So to get started, first you need a Gmail account. This sounds simple, but when you have people that are technologically struggling, like we had a guy that didn't know how to use Google, so we had to help him use Google to get to Gmail, and then after they have a Gmail account and set up, then you can get them onto Google Plus. And Google Plus is an option on Gmail account. On the top right corner, you'll see a little arrow. You click on it, and then it will let you view profile and sign up from there. And so we had people do that and then install the Google Plus video plugin to enable them to have video. Next step. And then to join Google Plus, you have to meet the following criteria. You have to have access to a computer and a webcam. Also, we had some problems with people with their webcams. They had them facing the wrong way, so make sure those webcams are turned towards you and not away from you. Anyways, your internet connection must be excellent. We recommend Ethernet. Wi-Fi is good as long as you're close to the Wi-Fi, but Ethernet is the best method. Also with lighting, just like television, you have to make sure it has natural lighting. Got to make sure their face is not too bright, not too dim. Set up the light source behind the laptop or computer. And then more criteria, the audio must be controlled, no typing. We had somebody that was typing while they were on air and it made a lot of noise and we couldn't
He was
hear
sending
them.
out social media messages about the topic, that's good, but it was clack, 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 clack,
Yeah.
clack, as we were trying to have, I guess, 3 guests and the anchor talk in this Google Plus Hangout.
And also just turn off everything, don't have any other tabs open. We had somebody with Pandora and Kesha came on in the middle of a broadcast, so make sure every tab is closed besides Google and Google Plus. Next step, I guess. Frequently asked questions. What are Hangouts? Hangouts are kind of like Skype. You just have different people come in, multiple people, up to 10 people, join the Hangout, and you just are able to talk to each person, and each person can actually see one another as well. You can be invisible if you want to. There is an option to make yourself invisible if you want to leave the room and have everybody else on there without your presence. And there is a time limit, or there's no time limit, I'm sorry. There is no time limit, but there's a limit of 10 people. If you get the iPhone app or the iPad app, it's only up to 8 people though. And users get notified on the top right corner. It will show a little number, a red number that will say notification like 1. Click on that and it will let you know to join the Hangout. And then once you go there's another step to join it. So you join it right after. And anybody can join the Hangout as long as you add somebody on there and they add you back and you're connected to them. And then you have to add them to a certain circle. You can make that circle for friends, for acquaintances, for the show if you want to. And then once they're inside there, you can add that whole circle into your Hangout. And then our manual, the full manual with more details than I gave you, is on our website at http://rjionline.org.
How many of you have done a Google Plus Hangout? Okay. Here's what we found, and it's been painful. We originally thought that we would do 3 Hangouts in every hour-long show on Thursday night. One would be with the citizenry. One would be with experts in the field, whatever we were talking about, and one would be with local journalists who have reported on this topic. Well, the journalists got it. They use laptops and they understand it, and we could train them and get them ready. The experts also, but the citizens were a train wreck. Some got it, some didn't. The journalists and the experts use their laptops and often use either Skype or FaceTime or a Google Plus Hangout with some frequency. And if we got them set up, which is a bit of a laborious task, to call them up, get a time when we can talk them through the procedures, if they don't have a Google account, all of that stuff. We could do that with the journalists and with the experts. But the citizenry, particularly some of the citizenry we wanted to hit, which is that diversity issue, people who are not normally involved with the media, for example, that was a nightmare. At the moment, our discussions over at KATC is that we should develop a pool of about 20 journalists and call on 3 or 4 of them every week, depending on what beat they're covering and how that matches up with our subject. That we should have a group of sort of community leaders who could also be experts and call on a few of them every week. But on the citizenry, the Google Plus Hangout at the moment we do not think is a good tool. Disagreements? No. These guys suffered with it badly. The citizenry, we have to get them involved in the program in a different way. Maybe it's something as simple as man on the street. But and also the setup piece is a good way to get the citizenry involved. And there's been a bit of a struggle between our colleagues in St. Louis who have this rich source of experts and ourselves, because we're so interested in getting, our team, because we're so interested in getting real citizens, real players in this community issue. I mean, my favorite piece still, you did the arts piece? My favorite is a woman who I would guess is making $25,000 a year. Huh? Sherry. And is a guide at the St. Louis Art Museum. And every day she meets with school groups and she takes them around to the certain exhibits in the art museum. And I mean, she's a real citizen. She is the impact, one piece of the economic impact of the arts in St. Louis. This is a dollar and cents thing to her, though she loves her job, she loves the kids, she loves being in the art museum. She's a real citizen. Some are not so savvy about dealing with the media. But we got to get those citizens. And if we don't get those citizens, then we have not succeeded in making the public forum of journalism bigger and richer. Tyler McConnell is a second semester grad student, the only damn Missourian in the group, I think. Is that right? And has been tracking some of the social media numbers, which are not impressive yet, but I think are on the road. You want to go through that, please, Tyler?
For
Then we're
sure.
going to get to questions, hand out candy, and
I'm ready for the candy. That's the only reason I came here, really. No, I was going to share my favorite hangout story. Is that okay if I did that?
Yeah.
A mayor of a certain Missouri town. I was on the phone. We had 2 days to prep him for live TV, and would have been a great addition to this story. But I was on the phone about 90 minutes trying to coach him through this advanced video conferencing software. I was like, okay, sir, just go to Google. He's like, I've never used that before. And then I would encourage him, it's just the first link, just click on the first link, and he kept clicking on the link in the yellow advertisement box. And so he got frustrated pretty quick. I did my best, though. But we ran into that a lot more than you would think. We had certain people were on the show 3 or 4 times, and it went fantastic, but we had a lot of those kind of hang-up issues as well.
My favorite hangout was the little boy hiding behind a piece of furniture in his mother's bedroom as we interviewed his mother. He was back there going like this,
just
peeking around.
Yeah,
and, while we're trying to talk about, I don't know, it was the journalist from Springfield, Illinois, about
For
pension
sure.
funds or something, yeah.
Kesha was great, too. I love that.
Count some
I'm a big
numbers
Kesha
here.
fan. Yeah, I was just going to show you guys a little bit. They have a Twitter presence and a Facebook presence. When I put together this presentation, I'll show you here in a minute, but this is just a little bit, you saw in the video just a little bit of inside of the studio here. They have a live audience and they have everybody on social media there during the show, so that's pretty cool. I always thought that was neat. And here's a little graphic, kind of show how everything is intertwined. We have media messages, basic reporting, and everything fits in nicely that way. This was in late February, I believe. We did have 600 tweets for that specific episode, which was interesting. I'll show you guys some of the back and forth there online here in a second. But the overwhelming majority of the activity online was relevant to the topic. There are a few fun outliers, and I'll show you one of those for some comic relief, maybe. But yeah, we engage with the public in real time. We invite them, challenge them, and encourage them to participate. So I had I think I had the page brought up over here. Let's see if you can see it. This is one. It was on, I think it was a food disparity, and we had a guy tweet in, and he said, "This is my first year growing my own food, but with a little bit of research, I found some awesome ways to dive in." And then you can see people at the station tweeting back. There's Amy Shaw, and she says, give us some helpful hints. We had another one with the education episode. There was a professor from Tennessee, and him and Ed went back and forth about certain issues on the topic.
Ed Reggie, the social media director for the television
Right.
station.
Yep. And I'll show you the fun one real fast. Let's see if it'll come up. Oh yeah, never go for someone if your pet doesn't like them. Stay tuned, STL. It's a good bit of advice to remember. So I was also going to show you, but that doesn't happen very often. Every once in a while you'll get one of those, or someone's new hip hop video to check out, but 95% of them are relevant to the topic. So just the last slide there, just a little ad for the show. It's Thursdays, 9 in the evening.
So, if you're slightly teased by all of this discussion, are you okay, Tyler? When we break up, if you'd be at that door, if you'd be at that door, don't pass them out now, but pass them out as they're leaving would be better, okay? Thanks. If you're teased at all by this discussion, the broadcast is streamed live at ketc.org, and you can click around, stay tuned, and all that. And all of the episodes are archived. This is very much a work in progress. It's not where it needs to be yet. We're not getting enough numbers on social media. We think we know how to do that. You saw Ed Reggie, the social media director, saying this show is about you, and please send us your tweets, and here's, we need to be much more provocative in asking questions. A lot of it, there's some TV newscast producers in here, a lot of this is about producing the newscast. It's not magic of technology or even social media, it's producing the newscast. What do we say in the first couple minutes? What do we say 7 minutes in when we transfer from one topic, one subtopic to the next subtopic? If we're talking about dropout, we probably need to talk about the state of the problem first off, and then we need to tease more social media as we move into what's the solution or something like that. So there's very much a producing element in this that we have not created or mastered. I think we need more reporting early on to find out where we can send our social media messages before the broadcast to get people to buy into the subject and to buy into the program. Roger Gaffney's been a player in this, both setting it up and the research. Roger, what have we not said that is important to this discussion?
Well, I think you covered it. I wrote on here, did it work? And you've been pretty candid about analyzing that.
Sorry. Say that all again, please.
Well, my question to you had been, did it work? And I think you've suggested in some ways, yes, particularly on some lessons we've learned about how difficult it is to expand the forum. And in some ways, we still have some work left to do on it. But it surely is a worthy venture to try to reach people, springing off Joy Mayer's comment that whatever story you I think you can tell, the conversation about that's already underway. So figure out how to join that conversation. To me, that is the marching orders for this enterprise.
We as journalists are always missing important parts of the story because we're going back to the same sources, because we're making assumptions based on previous stories and that sort of thing. So if we can find a way to dig deeper with social media, we may make the stories richer. And the commercial aspect of that, because I'm commercial, is that we can make the audience bigger. The numbers from MediaTrack rating service in St. Louis are showing some improvements, though in the numbers for this time day part, 9 to 10 p.m. on Thursdays. So we may see a hint there that more people are watching, but we also see that topics matter. If we do healthcare disparities, I want you to write a paragraph on healthcare disparities. I mean, what is that? That's hard to sell that subject without a lot of words and pictures. But if we say, Newtown, Connecticut, what's happening in Missouri, bingo, the numbers go up. Social media messages go up, and certainly MediaTrack showed more viewers. So there's a topical thing that obviously some subjects are better than others. Okay, questions. Come on, ask me something. Yes, ma'am. Who are you?
I'm Maggie Berglund. I'm a graduate.
Good.
From here, I work at MU Extension now. I'm curious if you noticed, in terms of different skill levels and equipment availability, if it was not only income related, but also age related. And particularly, did low income younger people do better? Like, are they getting the exposure and experience so that they can use these technologies when they're available?
I think it's going to be an episodic answer, not a statistically based answer. And trying to set people up, what can you say, Tyler? Older people are better or worse at this thing?
Well, there were, of course, some outliers, but typically it was the 20-something college-educated sort of demographic that was all over it. And it took about 5 minutes to train them to do this. And some other ones would take a little longer. But and that was disappointing sometimes because certain people would add to the story so much, but we had trouble getting them acclimated to the technology.
Would you say there's a difference between a low-income 20-something versus, a higher-income 20-something?
You think there would?
Yeah, I do actually think so, because we had a story we did with high school dropouts, and I had to help a girl that hadn't completed high school. And so it was definitely a struggle trying to help her, and she had to come into the station, and I had to do it for her. So yeah, I would definitely think so.
Yeah, in some cases, we brought students or people into the station and put them in an office at the TV station to be part of the Google Plus Hangout. We didn't feel very good about that, but in order to get those people, I mean, if we're going to bring them in the station, we might as well put them on the set live, was the frustrating part of it. So we don't have stats, and it'll be a while. But I think episodically, income and age do play a real role in this. Though we think the age thing will we assume, and we read that the age thing will disappear soon. But the schools really make a difference.
Brian Bondis, a senior broadcast journalism major here at Mizzou. Besides social media, have you guys used other tools to engage the audience on the second screen viewing experience, like maps, infographics, or other polls, surveys?
Almost nothing.
Nothing.
It's a great opportunity for us. It's the next step. And if Dean Mills is foolish enough to ask me to do this for another 2 or 3 or 4 years, then we might get an answer. But I don't think. I think that's going to be a second or a third year study. Roger Gaffke is very interested in that subject. Do you have any answer at all you want to give him? We'd love to take that next step and see if the second screen really could be incorporated in a much more vigorous way, but Brian, we don't know yet. Who else? Yes, ma'am. Got one there?
Hi, I'm Danielle Carter. I'm a junior here at Mizzou, and I'm in Kent's capstone class. I am actually from the St. Louis area, but I live on the Illinois side of things, and I live right outside of St. Louis. And I was just wondering, do you guys ever try to get sources or coverage from outside of St. Louis at all in the Illinois side of things?
Yeah, that's something that we've tried to do. It's been a challenge at times, but a story that we worked on a few weeks ago, we were covering the mayoral election in St. Louis, and the frame that we took on it was how does it affect all of the outlying communities, not just St. Louis City itself. So we went to St. Clair County in Illinois.
That's where I'm from.
Okay, see, there you go. And we went to Jefferson County, south of St. Louis. So that was one where we really put in a lot of effort to try to make sure we covered everything, all around St. Louis, not just St. Louis City. But Kent would probably agree that's something that we're still trying to work on. We're still trying to get better at, and that's something that does come up in our meetings. What can we do outside of just the St. Louis City limits to tell this story? Sometimes that's a little more difficult, and we can't do it as well as we'd like to, but that's definitely something that we're trying to do and we're definitely working on.
Part of the issue is just drive time. If we show up in St. Charles, Missouri at 10 o'clock in the morning, we can sit around there for an hour or two to try and get some interviews there, then into St. Louis, then across the river. And we try and make these setup pieces that Carrie, Joe, Jen, and Matt have been doing. We try and do them in one day. Jen and Matt were, 7:30 a.m. to 6:30 last night for a relatively simple piece. Not a one-location piece, but it was relatively simple, wasn't it? Yeah. So here's what you need to know. Social media maybe can enrich the public forum. That's the theme of all of this. The public forum should get bigger. Some of us argue that there used to be a rich public forum in America. And that was town hall meetings, sometimes in a church or a city hall or out in a park during colonial times when they were standing around talking about which witches to burn this weekend. But all of that sort of fell apart, we think, maybe because of the mass media, because the mass media substituted for it. But then the mass media got into going back to the same sources over and over again. So there's some discussion of that. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I tend to believe it, but who knows? So maybe the mass media sort of screwed up the idea of a public forum in the American democracy. And maybe social media can, maybe not, make it all right again, but may be able to add to the public forum to some degree. But there are lots of barriers. Think of the demographics for a good public television station. During the daytime, it's all kids because of the kids' programming. But in the evening, it's a very specific demographic. And that evening demographic for public television stations is not very diverse, okay? Mike McKean's worked on this probably more than anybody else as director of the Futures Lab, has dealt with social media, and will be in Washington next week talking to a group at the National Press Club. You got anything to argue or add? Put you on the spot, didn't I? Thanks. Here, grab that microphone.
No, I guess I was just going to say, Kent, from the second screen experience aspect of it anyway, how can we make the process of that engagement simpler? You know, if I have to, like I said, I've got to learn how to use Google Plus Hangouts. I've also got to then fire up my Twitter account or Facebook or whatever it is to engage with the program. Can we put all of this into a simpler interface? There are lots of experiments out there, more with network TV than with local TV, around how to make that second screen experience simpler and more engaging, but I don't think we've applied it yet to local, or for that matter, to public television, and that's one of the things we hope to be working on more this summer and fall.
Great. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Remember a couple of things out of this about the public forum. Really matters to journalism, and we may be missing it. Thanks, you all. Have a nice day. Thank you, guys, very much.